This is the Seahawkers Podcast, episode 312. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers. A happy Veterans Day to everyone out there who will be getting this the day after Veterans Day. And joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Hey, man, it's good to be with... Wait, hold on. I'm getting some news over my earpiece here. Okay, it's been confirmed by all the major cable news outlets. The vote is in, and they're calling it. All the 12s want Ken Norton Jr. fired.
Is it all of them? It might be all of them.
It seems that way. It seems that way. I know that's hyperbolic, but just saying that's what they're calling on the major news outlets. So,
well, when Pete Carroll and the Seahawks defense give up 44 points, the most in Pete Carroll's tenure as a head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, and he does it on the same day that it is announced that he's signed an extension with Seattle, I can see how some people might look at that and say, you know what, 44 points for a Pete Carroll defense is not the present we should be giving him on a day such as this.
I think maybe it's the other way around. We shouldn't be giving him such a present when the defense gives up 44 points. A 5-year extension.
The ink was already dry on the paper, though.
It sure was. And I'm glad that Pete got the extension. I think we all are on that. It'll be interesting to break down this very frustrating Buffalo game with you, talk a little bit about the Rams. But when we do talk about the defense today, I think we kind of have to look at it in two different ways. And I look forward to chatting with you about it.
All right. Well, before we get there, before we put any criticism upon the Seahawks, we got to take a look at ourselves in the mirror, take the blame or assign the blame, as it were, for the loss this week. And Sam Sullivan, checking in after the Seahawks lost to the Bills, says, I apologize. This one is partially on me. And Sam, don't take partial responsibility, take full responsibility. He says, I've hung my Seahawks flag out first thing every morning on game day this year, except for two, the Cardinals and now this one, late on both. The 50-mile-an-hour winds made me think it was going to blow away, so I put it in the window. After that 14-0 start, I placed it outside where it flapped heavily in the wind. I will never forget to place it outside again. Even if I forget to put on pants, I won't forget the flag.
Hey, I appreciate Sam coming through with that. We all know flags need fresh air, and that's where he screwed up.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand, though, 50-mile-an-hour wind. I have my Seahawks flagpole is severely bent from having it out in heavy winds. Oh. And so I probably need to replace that. But I can understand just the idea of, okay, it's a little windy out there. Maybe I should keep it inside. But see, this is what happens.
It's what happens, but I'm glad Sam got that off his chest and cleared his hawker out. I missed the first drive of the game because somehow YouTube TV decided that I was still in Louisiana and could not seem to forget the fact that I used to be in Louisiana. It was now in the mountains of Montana. And so I was blacked out for the first drive. So that was very frustrating. So it feels a little like to me that first 7 points was on me for not being, I should have tested it beforehand.
You should have. You have all that time leading up to the game, although it was an early game. So it was, and people trying to put this on me, speaking of it being an early game, I was hyping up pretty heavily the fact that the Seahawks had this unbelievable streak going back, like 4 years of winning in that 10 a.m. Pacific start time. And, with all the hype that I put up, people were trying to put it on me for jinxing it.
Yeah, well, you know what you did. So, I'm
not going to accept the blame on that, Sam. It was Sam's fault. He already said it was him.
Wow. The Sam will at least take partial responsibility, and you poo-poo that, and you go full, nope, not my fault.
No, I was simply stating a statistic, and those can't be jinxed.
Oh, okay then. All right, well, you take no responsibility for your actions. This show's going to go great. A lot like this game against the Bills did. It went great from the jump.
Oh, and one of the things that frustrated me about this game just from the jump is that the Bills were aggressive straight out of the game. And it was like the Seahawks weren't prepared for it. Starting with the kickoff, the opening kickoff, they decide to take it out of the end zone and return it. And it looked like, I think I saw Cody Barton just kind of taking a leisurely jog to the end zone, and he wasn't able to contain the left side there, and they end up getting a 50-yard return out of the deal.
Yeah, it felt to me a little more that 36, I don't know who 36 is, I'm not going to lie, was the guy that missed the contain there and kind of just lollygag there on the edge. But this is kind of what I wanted to start with regarding this game. And really, because the conversation has been all about the defense, and understandably so. I get that. But let's talk about it in two different ways. Number one, let's speak about the defense and the reasons for the loss in this game. And then let's speak about the defense and what needs to be done, the rest of the season, for the entirety of the season, and look at it in those terms. Because I think there's two different things going on there. Because this loss in this game, this wasn't just on the defense. It felt like it in real time. Boy, howdy, I was really pissed at the defense. It felt like this was all a defensive problem. But good Lord, you talk about the term complementary football. Like we've brought that up on the podcast many times. Whatever the antithesis of that is, anti-complimentary football, maybe it's insult football. I don't know what it is, but whatever the opposite of complimentary football is, that's what happened in this game. I mean, special teams screwed over the defense screwed over the offense, and then the offense screwed over the defense, and the coaching screwed over the whole team throughout the entire game. It was the antithesis of all of that. So to hang this loss solely on the defense, I think it's not fair.
Yeah.
But if you look at the defense in the entirety of the season and where the Seahawks are going to be able to go if it's going to fulfill what we all hope this season will fulfill, defense has problems. So that's kind of how I wanted to look at this.
Well, let's look at it more from the perspective of coaching, because the offense, defense, special teams, they lost it in all phases. But that's why I kind of go back to the coaching thing and the idea of Pete Carroll feeling like he got caught off guard by this idea that the Bills were just going to come out and throw the football, because in the first half, I think they only ran the ball maybe 3 times with their running backs. And listening to Pete in the post-game press conference, he said that was something unexpected. And when you have the NFL's worst defense of giving up yards, I don't feel like that should be a surprise. Like, you should maybe think of teams wanting to come out and throw the ball against you.
Yeah, I think that it may have even surprised the Bills a little bit, how much they threw against the Seahawks in the first half. I don't know that was, what is it, Dable? Isn't that the offensive coordinator's name for the Bills? I'm not sure that his intention was to completely abandon the run game in the first half, but when you come out on those first 2 drives and you see the Seahawks throwing the kitchen sink at you on the blitz, but then playing this soft zone where everybody's backed off the ball, and nobody's playing a man, they're just playing space. Like it was so poorly coached the way they played the zone on top of just executed, that if you're the offensive coordinator for the Bills, you just say, you're giving me that every play? Okay, throw. And they just took advantage of it throughout the entire first half. And I don't know about you, Brandon, but I woke up multiple times throughout this week in a cold sweat, screaming out the 2 words, soft zone! Like it is terrifying. I never want to see that crap out of this defense again for the rest of this season. It's garbage.
I think that you put it in a really good way, because after a loss, I really don't like going to watch the All 22 just to see exactly what happened. And I felt like I had to after this week. I didn't want to, but the way you put that, and that the defenders were just defending an area on the ground rather than the particular player, because there were times in this game where there was a player within the zone to where you would say, okay, get up on him now that he's in your area. And they're like, okay, I'll just sit back here. This is my spot. And they allowed the completion.
You saw that a lot. And then you also saw the Bills, if you're looking at it from their offensive perspective, they totally exploited the right intermediate outside routes to short routes. So all the throws to the flat, 7-8 yard outs, all towards Quentin Dunbar, who was playing 10, 12 yards off constantly. And then you had your underneath guys like DJ Reed. He oftentimes would jump a receiver on the inside, even though his zone was the outside flat.
Right. Yeah. So there would be a linebacker. That. They would have DJ Reed and a linebacker covering one guy. And then the guy on the outside flat was wide open. And then Dunbar's just running backwards because, I don't know, he just decided to. That's what he does.
And it was maddening. And you saw him I mean, Josh Allen, his eyes had to light up. He's like, really? I just get to play pitch and catch to the right flat like all
day,
first
all
half?
day long.
First half anyways. And boy, howdy, it was up and down the field. The Seahawks go down 7-0 early. Offense comes out and sputters, and bam, 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 right down the field again with that garbage soft zone defense. Because if you're going to blitz, like, it's going to force a fast decision. And if you just are playing a soft zone like that, and the guys are just able to go to an empty spot, it's real easy for the quarterback to look and be like, oh, dude's open, bonk, and then hit him. And it defeats the whole purpose of the blitz.
Right.
And that's what they did that entire first half. And Josh Allen ate our lunch, gets us down 14-0, and now Russell's in try-hard mode.
Well, and it wasn't just the fact that they were blitzing, but the blitzes weren't effective in the first half either. Like, they had them all blocked up. It wasn't until, I think, late in the second quarter to where you started seeing them use Jamal Adams on some more delayed blitzes from off of the line of scrimmage, rather than having all the dudes up on the line blitzing the quarterback.
Well, the big difference is Allen started holding the ball in the second half. And the reason he started holding the ball in the second half is they actually got up on the receivers, started playing man coverage, and just doing a little bit of zone in the middle with Bobby and KJ to kind of help with the crossers, the shallow crossers, because that's where they were killing us. Diggs killed us with the shallow cross, pretty much all game, but they did slow it down a bit in the second half. And that's when you saw the defense actually kind of grow a backbone. I mean, Seattle offense comes out, Russ fumbles, they put him, in prime position to score again. They hold him to a field goal. Then next possession the Bills have, they get an actual stop.
Yeah. And
then you're coming down to the end of the third quarter and the Seahawks find themselves within 7. Like, they actually made the adjustments, but we talked about it with the fellow from the Bills podcast about, well, is the OC for the Bills, is he able to do in-game adjustments? Boy, was he, because he actually had a counter for switching to man, and we can get into that more later. But it was frustrating to see it take so long for Ken Norton to adjust there and understand that why that was the game plan to start with.
Yeah,
to go into playing that kind of zone coverage that really the personnel isn't really made for.
Well, I think going up against any quarterback who's halfway competent, why would you want to allow them short throws of, 5 to 10 yards without challenging their receivers at all? Like, what quarterback other than Jimmy Garoppolo is that going to work against?
Well, I think what the thought process was, if I really have to go back and rack my brain, what was Josh Allen's reputation as a quarterback, for his first couple of years here in regards to passer versus runner? He's probably more respected as a runner, don't you?
Yeah,
you say?
There was the questions about his accuracy, but I think that had been solved if you just watched him to this point in the season.
Oh, without question. I'm just saying that he is a dangerous runner of the football. That is something that he's done very well throughout his career.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think the idea is you blitz him. If he gets past the blitz and he's running, you want to be in a zone coverage so that your defenders are actually looking at the quarterback instead of having his back turned to the quarterback.
Okay.
So that he can contain Josh Allen on the move and running. And I think that was the idea. But the problem is that when that zone coverage is so freaking terrible that he can just sit back there and pick you apart, he's never going to run. So what's the point of it in the first place?
Well, see, this brings me to the point to where I just stopped watching the All-22 because it was, you kind of glossed over it as the drive where the Bills had to kick a field goal. But you go back to that drive, they started on the 23 because right after the turnover on the very first play, Josh Allen gets sacked by Carlos Dunlap. And I think that was the one where Dunlap just blew up the left tackle, and they only had a 4-man rush, if I remember that one right. Mm-hmm. But then the next play, they get an offensive pass interference on second down, and then they're in 2nd and 27. Mm-hmm. Again, they go after Quentin Dunbar, and Dunbar did the thing where he started, 10 yards off of the receiver, 12 yards off the receiver on that 2nd and 27. And then the receiver made like a swim move right around, the 15-yard point in the route that he was running. And then Dunbar just stopped. Josh Allen just looped it up over the top of him and right in front of Quandre Diggs. And they nearly scored a touchdown on that play.
Yeah, very frustrating play. And this is a great time to have the Dunbar discussion. Now,
if your job all day is to try and keep people in front of you on a 2nd and 27, and that's the play that you can't back up 27 yards to keep the guy in front of you.
Yeah,
that's frustrating. That's what made me turn it off. I said, I'm not watching this all 22 anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, it was the screenplay to the receiver on the outside. It was like 3rd and 16 or something like that. And it really kind of salted the game away for the Bills. I mean, that was in the 4th quarter. And Dunbar's backed off 13 yards off this freaking guy. Like it screams, hey, please just throw me the ball real fast so I can run for a long ways.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the dumbest thing in the world, but this is a good time, I think, to have the Dunbar conversation, because after the game, holy crap, I was like, cut him. I'm done. I've had enough of this crap. Like, I can't stand the way he plays.
Yeah.
And then you hear Pete come out, because I went back and forth on this quite a bit, actually, over the week.
Uh-huh.
Then you hear Pete come out and be like, well, his knee's really hurt. Like, it's really hurt. And like, we shouldn't even been out there. We should have taken him out earlier. It was amazing. He was even out there giving us what he had.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, all right. Well, maybe he's backing way off these guys because, he can't run right now. And you saw the Bills attack him relentlessly and try to make him run, whether that was on goes or crossers. They attacked him over and over and over again with that.
Yeah.
Because he clearly couldn't move very well, or maybe he's never moved very well. I don't know. But,
Did you? I seem to remember whenever he was up near the line of scrimmage, it wasn't very often, but there were a few plays where he played up on his receiver on the outside. He looked better.
5 out of every 6 times that they played all the receivers tight up near the line of scrimmage, they won at the line of scrimmage, and then the defenders actually got home or forced an errant pass. Like that, it worked every single time except for 2 screens, which is what you do against that. But we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's put a pin in that.
Okay.
I want to talk about Dunbar just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. I thought I remember this guy playing this stupid off coverage even when he was healthy earlier in the year. Didn't that happen?
Yeah.
I think that happened.
He played that in Washington. I think that's what we looked at when we looked at some of his Washington film. And he said, oh, well, this is just kind of the way he is, but he talked about learning the system.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, let me go back and look at snap counts here. Okay, week 2, he played 75% of the snap counts. Cool. Against the Patriots. Let's see what he was doing then. He surely was healthy in week 2.
Yeah.
Right? Like at that point. So I turned on the first drive the Patriots have in that game. First play, I don't remember what it was. Doesn't matter. Second play, Dunbar is playing off 8 to 10 yards. They run a quick hitch right in front of him. He has 0 shot, misses the tackle. It's a first down in week 2. So then at that point, the little bit of sympathy that I had that like Pete had thrown out there with, oh, his knee's bad. And he's just like, catfish that. He sucks. I'm sick of this off coverage. I can't stand it. This is not the way that this defense played when we were winning Super Bowls. It was press man coverage, hit the shit out of these guys and disrupt the timing of these routes and give your defense an actual opportunity to get to the quarterback. I don't understand what this off coverage is supposed to accomplish. I just don't.
And it seems like it's more on Dunbar's side. And I think it was in Pete's Monday radio show with 710 ESPN that he said that that's kind of how Dunbar prefers to play, which if that's the case, then no, coach him up to where he can play in your system, make him play that way. And because the problem is he's getting beat the way he quote unquote likes to play. Like I point back to that 2nd and 27. Those are the kind of plays where, okay, you would expect that kind of off coverage because yeah, it's 2nd and 27. If they throw a 10, 15-yard throw, then you got them stopped. But you can't allow a near touchdown on a 2nd and 27.
Defeats the entire purpose. You might as well play it aggressive. And so you mentioned, okay, Pete said this is the way that he likes to play. You mentioned that when you saw some of his stuff from his Washington days, you're like, oh, this guy likes to play off coverage. So if this guy likes to play off coverage, why did you bring him to Seattle, where Pete's MO in the past has been, just like I said, press man coverage, kick step technique, all that. So you made a trade for personnel that doesn't fit your system. That's something I want to talk about when we talk about the long-term aspects of this defense and who's to blame to why it sucks right now.
Okay.
Because that's a John Schneider issue there. And there's other There's other parts of this defense that has his fingerprints all over it that is a failure. But as far as this game, Dunbar was a disaster. And then you have Jamal Adams out there in coverage, and it was Dunbar or Adams they targeted on almost every single play. He can't cover, at least not right now. And this is the guy out of the two of them when we're talking about injuries as an excuse.
Yeah.
Like, you saw Adams out there. I think he's saving the little bit that he has with this groin injury for all of the run plays and the blitzes. And then in coverage, he's just trying to survive. And because there was one like route where it was a crucial situation where Diggs was close to the tackle, and he comes off the line of scrimmage and kind of runs towards the inside of the field, and then kind of pirouettes and runs back out to the sideline on a diagonal. And it looks like Adams is just trotting out there. And I was so mad. I was like, there's no effort here. What was that? And I think that might be more injury related, where with Dunbar, it's his crap ass style of play.
Yeah. Well, there was one play by Jamal Adams that it nearly cost the team points. The 3rd and 6 play where Buffalo was marching down the field. It looked like they might get into field goal range right before the end of the first half. And it was one where Josh Allen rolls out to the right, and he dumps that little pass over to Cole Beasley. Well, during that play, Josh Allen's rolling out to his right side, and Adams is kind of just standing there. And then all of a sudden, he does a beeline to the right side of the field. I don't know if he thought that Allen had a guy that was running free that he was going to throw way across his body for, but he runs that way and passes Cole Beasley, who was running the other way. If he would have just stayed put and saw Beasley running toward the sideline, then that wouldn't have picked up. Now it was a great throw. It was a nice catch to get it into that little spot. But it was weird to me that he just all of a sudden decided to take off and run the opposite direction of which way Josh Allen was rolling.
Yeah, again, that feels like that zone coverage, the rules doesn't make sense to the players right now. Like, it's just not coached well, because there was a lot of those kind of inexplicable decisions by the DBs throughout the game that way. And I don't want to hear about the injuries. Like, that doesn't much matter. I mean, they have to be able to do better than this. And I think that's why they played better in man going down the stretch was, hey, that's my guy. I run with him.
Right.
I cover him wherever he goes. It takes a lot of the complicated stuff out of the thing.
And maybe they just need to do more of that.
I think they do, but you're going to see a counter to that. And we did see it in this game. The Seahawks came out in that second half, in that third quarter, had a lot of success blitzing and playing up on the receivers and playing in man coverage. Yeah. And then you saw the Bills pull off twice at very key moments, and they saved it for the keyest of moments because they knew that's how we were going to play, because it was the only thing we were having success with. And that was to dump off a screen. Yeah. It is the perfect play call against that sort of defense. You get those aggressive blitzing players coming towards the quarterback. You leak out a couple offensive linemen. All of the DBs are getting run down the field and their backs are turned towards the play. And it's just off to the races. And they got burned on 2 critical situations in that going down the stretch. And that's what teams are going to turn to when it comes down to it, going down the stretch with the Seahawks defense, because this is the only way they can play.
But can't you call the kind of blitz in that situation to where a guy like KJ Wright, to where, okay, plan on going, but if you see the running back or a receiver leak out into that screen type area, then go with him.
Yeah. Or if you're watching the offensive lineman, if you see them, play patty cakes for half a second and then try to, run down the field a little bit, screen, like get out there and do it. But it's just, there is some poor coaching along the way here. And, that's something we can talk about with the Ken Norton thing. But that's where this game kind of completely turned to me. It was right at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth. The Seahawks are within 7. The Bills decode exactly what it is the Seahawks are doing on defense. They run that big screenplay. They go down and they score. Now you're down 14. And now Russ does his part to contribute to the loss. He's keeping us in the game and he's fighting hard. And don't get me wrong, we're not there without Russell Carrington Wilson, our God and Savior. But he's trying to put on his cape too much. And the league has figured out a little bit, thanks to the Arizona Cardinals, what you do against this offense right now. And that's to blitz the hell of them off the edge. And it forces just enough mistakes. And Russ was trying too hard, and he made a couple critical mistakes in this game. And I think we should probably break down his 4 turnovers in this game and kind of, get into that a little bit, because most of the turnovers in the second half were backbreaking. I mean, just when the defense was trying to get it together, the offense puts them in a bad spot. Anti-complementary football, insult football.
Well, and you go back to the very first turnover where he threw an interception on a 4th and 1. And I think the bigger problem to me was on 3rd and 1. It's listed as 3rd and 1 in the box score, but really it was a 3rd and 2. And they run Travis Homer up the middle and got absolutely nowhere. That was a frustrating play for me.
Yeah, hated that call. Liked going forward on 4th down. I think when
Plus,
you're
they'd had success with DJ Dallas that whole drive. He had a 9-yard run up the middle, a run off the left tackle for 8. He had a run on the right side for 10, and then they go to Homer near the goal line.
Okay, well, then I'll bring in an ancillary point I wanted to talk about regarding this loss and one of the reasons we lost. One of the big reasons we lost this game was no Chris Carson. You really felt his absence in this game. That could have been a huge difference maker for us, being able to run the ball consistently and take the pressure that they were generating off of Russ.
Yeah.
So that he's not trying to force things. Now, that 4th and 1 play, I like going for it there. It was a fairly predictable type of play that they ran. That's fine, whatever. Usually Russ can make that defender, Jerry Hughes, miss in that situation, but he played it beautifully. Give him all the credit in the world. And then at that point, Russ, even said it in the press conference, and I agree 100%. Why the hell would I throw the ball away there? It's either a touchdown or an arm punt. Throw it into the end zone. Like, absolutely. That first interception on 4th and 1, there's no reason not to go for it and throw a ball in there, even if you think that it's not going to make it. Like, give it a shot. So I take that first one, I take totally off his plate.
It was the difference
there
between them being on the 5-yard line versus bringing it out to the 20.
Yeah,
and it's I guess it's one thing if it's, on the 1-yard line, because then you have the opportunity for, potentially a safety or making it hard on the offense trying to get it out of the end zone. But really the 5-yard line, I suppose it doesn't make as much difference.
And you're already down 14.
Yeah.
Like, go for it. And Russ is feeling the pressure. Wow, defense hasn't stopped a cold today. Like, I better put my foot on the pedal and really get after it. And so the first one is totally excusable to me. The 2 fumbles, those can't happen. They're completely inexcusable. The one where he gets stripped when he's moving up in the pocket, I get it. You're trying to make a play. He's just getting ready to throw. Defender sneaks up behind him. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the one where he gets blitzed off the edge and just blowed up, like that can't happen. Number one, you got to be better at identifying the protection. Number two, why the hell were they sending Homer out in the route there?
Well,
like what?
Okay, there were a couple issues. They sent out Homer in the route, but if I remember that sack right, they also had 2 tight ends on the right side at the snap of that play, and neither Greg Olsen nor Will Dissly put a hand on AJ Klein.
Yeah, just let him be a free runner. And then number 3, if you're going to get blowed up by a free runner like that, get 2 hands on the ball. I don't care if he lifts you off your feet and just pile drives you. You can't lose the ball there. It's unacceptable. It really is. And then if we talk about the second pick, I think that was on 3rd and 25.
Yes. It was the 3rd and 25.
At 3rd and 25, I just, why? Like, that's where I was looking at it and being like, geez Louise, Russ thinks he needs to pull out 7 miracles a game to win a game because of the way the defense is playing. And that, he can't do that. Like, check it down, do something, punt it away. The odds of you picking up a 3rd and 25 on a regular basis is so slim. Your risk benefit analysis there needs to be better. And he's just pressing too much. And there's a big reason why we lost this game.
Yeah, the 3rd and 25 at that point, though, I think that they were already down, 13 maybe?
Yeah, they were down 13-14 again.
Yeah.
And I get it. He feels like he has to. But really, at the end of the day, if he doesn't throw that pick there, that whole game could be different, the whole end of the game. Because I heard people complaining about the turnovers right after the game. Well, if Russ had turned the ball over 4 times, we wouldn't lose the game. And I was like, whatever. The defense can't stop nothing. Like, it doesn't matter how many times he turned it over. And then when I went back and rewatched it now twice,
I
was like, oh, man, yeah, 2 of those turnovers were really terrible. And they really did put the defense in even a worse spot than they were. And it did contribute to the loss. It's a big deal.
Well, when you don't score on either of your first 2 drives for this team, I just don't think that that's something that you can generally overcome. They overcame it, I suppose, in the Vikings game when they didn't score in the entire first half. But I think against a team like the Bills, you can't go scoreless through the entire first quarter. And, what did they get their first score with about 6 minutes left in the second quarter?
I don't know that it much matters because they still ended up putting up points when it was all said and done.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this defense can't give up 35 plus points a game. I mean, if we go back and look at this, it feels like, and tell me if you disagree, the magic number for this defense is 35. Russ can put up 35 a game. If you can hold him under 35, you win. Now, that's great news because that's a tiny bit improvement that needs to be made to get him just under 35 points a game. That shouldn't be hard. Like, a high school team should be able to do that. Now, it's also terrible news at the same time because the defense is giving up so many points that we're asking for just that little bit. And it's both good and bad news in one phrase. We just have to hold them under 35 points a game.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and you're not firing Ken Norton Jr., you just go to him and say, okay, Ken, look, you're going to keep your job. All you have to do is have your defense not give up more than 35 points. They can be bad. They can maybe even be NFL worst bad this season, but they can't be so bad that they give up more than 35 points in a game.
Well, you put a lot of words in my mouth there saying that I wouldn't fire Ken Norton Jr. And I think maybe this is a good point to kind of talk about this defense long term.
Uh-huh.
Unless you had more specifically in the game you wanted to
I had
quick.
one thing on offense that I thought that we just absolutely had to touch on with regard to Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, we saw Russell Wilson do a quarterback sneak at the goal line, Adam.
Yeah. I've never understood why we don't do more of this. You'd think he would be an awesome QB sneaker.
You would think, and maybe it's just and there was a hole, just a huge hole for him to go into. And so I don't know if teams just not expecting it because he doesn't do it. And so there was nobody.
I don't think he's ever done it. Like ever.
I don't think so either.
Not
like
that is literally
generally
the first time.
He doesn't like. For Russell Wilson to line up under center, it's relatively rare anyway. He's usually in shotgun.
Yeah, these days.
And so seeing him under center is, you'll see it time to time, but it's not something he does a lot. And so there's also that. And just the fact you go back through his entire history and you've never seen it. So I could see why that would catch the Bills off guard. It caught me off guard.
Oh, for sure. It was fun to watch. And I'm glad you brought up offense here as we kind of wrap up a little bit about this game. The last thing I want to talk about on the offense is that the answer to the test of what to do when they are blitzing you from the edge nonstop. And the answer to that test is throw a catfishing screen. And because we saw it work.
Why did it take the Seahawks until the fourth quarter to throw a screen in this game?
I don't understand. I don't understand. Is it Skybox Shoddy that hates screens? Is it Russell Wilson who hates screens? He just wants to throw kill shots on every play? Is it Pete Carroll who hates screens? Or do all of them have a front door that does not have a screen door? I think that must be it because they all hate screens. Like their windows are just open. They let in all the bugs. I don't understand. I don't get it. Throw a screen. Slow this pass rush down.
Slow it down. Or, like going back to the AJ Klein blitz off the edge. Keep your tight ends in on the offensive line for a little bit and then have them leak out if they aren't sending everybody.
Yeah. And you have 2 great receivers that can get separation. 3, really. I mean, David Moore does a nice job.
Yeah.
So if you have to keep the tight ends in the back end, well, whoop-de-freaking do.
Use all the tight ends. Line up Hollister in the backfield. Line up Disley on the line, along with Greg Olsen. Use all the tight ends.
Yeah, they're just slow to adjust. The whole game, slow to adjust, the whole coaching staff.
It was frustrating, but maybe not as frustrating as the Arizona loss, just because they were playing from behind the whole game, so it seemed inevitable the whole game.
No, this was far more frustrating, because just as they started to climb in, they made a series of mistakes, like Jamal Adams getting the pass interference on Beasley in the game.
That was ticky-tack, too.
It was a crap call, don't get me wrong, but it was so untimely. Like, that was the thing, is like every big mistake in this game, it was at the worst possible time.
Like the 3rd and 16 screen to John Brown.
Yeah. Well, and again, when you have Quentin Dunbar playing 13 yards off of Brown, like, I mean, just throw it to him. He's going to be able to run for at least 2 first down, 20 yards worth of real estate, and he turns it into more.
Well, partially he was able to turn it into more because he was playing so far off that by the time that Dunbar got up to him, he had blockers able to push Dunbar out of the way.
Exactly. We need Shaq back really badly. We need Ugo back as soon as possible. And there's some other changes that need to be made to this defense. And I think long-term speaking, when we look at this year, I mean, and trying to pass blame around, Ken Norton Jr., fire Ken Norton Jr. Well, okay. My first question is always, who you got sits better? Like, that's always my,
Dan Quinn is the obvious name, Adam.
Yeah, well, okay then. I just watched him fail miserably since he got blown out, leading 28-3 in the Super Bowl. All right, I don't think Dan Quinn's the answer, and the personnel isn't there that Dan Quinn was accustomed to while he was there. But then you brought up a name, Wade Phillips, where I was like, now that's interesting. I actually think that would be very interesting. But the problem
this was a discussion that we were having in our Facebook Ring of Honor group. And yes, because the common name that you hear is Dan Quinn. And my point was, bring somebody in with a different way of thinking, because you have all these guys out there. You have Dan Quinn, you have Ken Norton Jr. Pete Carroll has taught them the way that he thinks about the game. And so get somebody new, somebody who thinks a little bit differently that can maybe challenge your way of thinking, and it's not really going to get worse.
I don't think that Pete wants that. I don't think he's going to coexist with somebody like Wade Phillips.
I don't think he is either, but I think that that's more of the answer than bringing in Dan Quinn.
Oh, yeah. And I don't think bringing in Wade Phillips is the answer either. I think what they need to do, number one, is Ken Norton has actually done a decent job at having a good run defense. Mm-hmm. And also, up until we didn't even get into Dunlop having a nice game. I mean, Dunlop came in and really made a difference on the D line. I'm really excited about his acquisition, but Ken Norton has done a good job over these last couple games when he finally, I think Pete let him off the leash a little bit and said, okay, go ahead and be creative and generate pressure. And they did. They sacked the guy 7 times. So he's doing good on the front 7 end of things. He really is. And that makes sense. He's a former linebacker. But what I think they need help with is coaching the DBs. I mean, not necessarily the safeties, but the corners for sure. And I think what would really be a big boost to them is to bring in a guy who's great at teaching Pete's technique. And there's a guy sitting out there that knows exactly how to do that. Chris Richard.
Yeah.
I think you bring Chris Richard back to coach the DBs if he wants to, if he's willing to. I think that would be a great move. I think that's better than firing Ken Norton in season. And not only that, but that fits more in with how Pete would want to handle things. He's not going to fire Ken Norton in the middle of the season.
No.
He's not going to do it.
No, it's, if you have friends, you don't embarrass your friends. And I get a sense that as much time as those two have spent together, they're good buddies, and that's just not going to happen.
I think the other thing the Seahawks need to do to fix this defense long term, I think it's time to give Earl Thomas a call.
Ooh.
I think it's time.
Ooh.
I really do. I mean, if you could I think you need to kind of reinvent the way that you're playing defense, because this defense doesn't have a lack of talent. That's what's so freaking frustrating. So I think you bring in Earl to play over the top, because obviously Diggs isn't that player. He's regressed this year in coverage. He's regressed in tackling.
Well, that first touchdown, he
was late.
He was so late in putting his foot in the ground to make it over to the receiver.
Mm-hmm. And Earl can still do that. And I'm sure he's been humbled by this point. It's time to bring back Earl Thomas. It's time to bring back Chris Richard. And we need to play a different type of defense. And I think they need to go to that big nickel and play 3 safeties. Have Earl playing over the top, get Ugo back, get Diggs out there, and then you take Jamal Adams and you basically say, you're not going to be playing in pass coverage barely at all. You are officially the play up guy. Uh-huh. That's what you are. And you play him as a roamer, and then you mix in 3 to 4 guys on the defensive line and bring KJ in and out as necessary with that. And you just totally change it to where that's the way that you're playing football. And I think that's what they need to do.
Yeah.
I think they need to abandon this traditional, kind of 4-3 front that Pete Carroll wants to play.
I don't think it's going to happen, but when you bring up Earl Thomas's name, at this point, I am not saying no.
Well, at this point, what is there to lose? I mean, what's there to lose if you don't call him? An opportunity to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, just bring him in. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't like him after 2 games, cut his ass. It's fine.
It's kind of the Antonio Brown argument, right?
Except
totally
with
a dude that you've actually had in your building before.
Except for a guy who's not under prosecution.
That too.
Big difference.
That's a significant difference.
Yeah. So I would definitely be for it. I think they need help with the DBs, and that's the way that I would go forward. And the other thing is I don't totally blame Ken Norton Jr. for this, because this is ultimately Pete Carroll's defense. And I think he's playing under some limitations that way, or coaching under some limitations that way. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, another person to blame for this is John Schneider.
Yeah.
Like that we talked about it, that trade for Quentin Dunbar for a guy that doesn't fit the system.
One, it's just a 5th round pick. I think it's worth the risk in that situation. I would rather them give up a 5th round pick for a guy like Quentin Dunbar to see if he can play in the system, rather than paying a guy like Kerry Williams when they paid him a pretty decent sized contract to come in and play corner and failed miserably. So, and again, from what I watched of Quentin Dunbar in this game, even in this game where he was supposedly injured, when he was up on the line of scrimmage and defending receivers, he looked a lot better to me.
He looked a lot better. The other thing, though, too, when it comes to Schneider in this defense, let's talk about the idea that, number one, they haven't brought in many dudes from the outside to play corner that have succeeded, especially on the outside. Now, you can argue the nickel spot, sure, that's fine, whether it's Coleman or whoever else you want to argue that they've done well with there.
Yeah.
But the other thing about Schneider, when it comes to the defense and how much capital they've spent on the defense in the draft, I mean, think about Collier, Taylor, Brooks, high draft picks last 2 years, 0 freaking impact. Then you take a look at all the DBs they've drafted over the last few years, whether that's T2 or, I mean, go down the freaking list of guys who have flamed out miserably. Like, part of the problem is Ken Norton, don't get me wrong. Part of the problem is Pete Carroll, don't get me wrong. But part of the problem here is John Schneider too.
Yeah, the draft picks that they use to bring in, to be the guys that replace the guys within Legion of Boom, of those picks that have worked out, it's been Shaquille Griffin.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess based off this last game, you could say maybe Trey Flowers.
Yeah.
He actually played okay.
Yeah, he did play okay in this game.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not crapping all over John Schneider's drafts like a lot of people do. Like, don't get me wrong, he's definitely hit on some guys. I mean, whether that's Shaq or Ugo.
It's put him in a tough spot, and not just with the guys that he's drafted early on, but then you look at the draft picks that were given up, even going back to draft picks given up for Percy Harvin. You got draft picks for Malik McDowell, which turned into more draft picks for Sheldon Richardson after McDowell had his incident. So there have been things where you
draft picks for Diggs, draft picks for Adams.
Yeah.
Like if you're even looking at the more recent history.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They've used a lot of draft picks on the defense.
Yeah. And, and this is what we have.
And for them to be in this position now after 8 games, it's not a good look.
It's not a good look. So there's blame to go all the way around. So when people are like, we have a Ken Norton problem. Well, okay. Yes, partially.
That is part of it.
Yeah, without question. And there's things that piss me off about the way that he coaches. But to put all the blame there, I think is short-sighted at best.
Sure. You ready to talk some Rams?
I am, because I don't think that performance that we saw against the Bills is something you're going to see duplicated more than one more time this season. That was a very oddly played Seahawks game and very out of character for that entire team, for all phases of the game to play so poorly at inopportune times for one another.
Do you think that when game planning for teams that have mobile quarterbacks, they just freak out? Like in the week of, like they just don't know what to do? Is that what the problem is, and why they won't have that issue going in this week against Jared Goff?
I think it makes a difference. I mean, you've heard Pete talk about it a million times, how the mobile quarterback is the most nightmarish thing to defend against in all of football, right?
Yeah.
And then in comes Jared Goff and his rinky-dink little bootlegs. That's going to happen time and time again. And Goff is going to get his numbers. It's going to be frustrating, but these last 2 weeks, whether it's been Garoppolo or Allen, who's much more mobile, the Seahawks have generated pressure. And if there's one thing I know for sure, without a doubt, I would probably come close to putting my kid's life on it, Jared Goff crumbles under pressure. If they can get, 3 to 5 sacks on Jared Goff and create 10 pressures total, the Seahawks have to win this game.
Looking at Jared Goff's Pro Football Focus numbers, when he has no pressure, he has, like the elite grades that are up in the upper 80s to lower 90s. Yeah, he's all upper 80s, except for his running ability, which, who cares if you're not under pressure? You don't really need to be able to run all that great. But the difference, I would be willing to bet, and I'm not going to go through all the quarterbacks to try and look it up, but I would bet between Pro Football Focus numbers, there's nobody with a greater disparity from no pressure to under pressure, because his no pressure number is 89.8. His under pressure number is 27.7.
Yeah, it's night and day. And the other thing is that their offense this year has definitely been more predicated on the run and kind of their three-headed monster running back. Three-headed monster is kind of an overstatement. Three-headed dude, average guy, 300 jag, three slightly above average dude running attack. Yeah. And
with Henderson probably being the most above average dude.
That's all fine and dandy, but the Seahawks are actually fantastic at stopping the run. You stop the run, you put it all on Jared Goff. He's going to make a mistake, crank it up, play sticky man-to-man defense. And, you're going to get burned with a few bubble screens. You're going to get burned with, a couple of slip screens, that sort of thing. Screw it. Just go after it and go that direction. Now, the question becomes, can Russell Wilson in this offense continue to put up that 35 plus points a game against this Rams defense? And this feels like there's the part of me that just, I hate the feel of this game, because it feels like the annual Aaron Donald comes and eats our lunch game. And because he wrecks us game in and game out. I can't stand that guy, even though he seems to be a stand-up guy and a hell of a player. Still catfish him.
Aaron Donald is becoming kind of the Larry Fitzgerald of the Rams. Like, he's the dude that, yes, screw that guy, but I actually do respect that guy.
It's hard to not to. And can they just keep Aaron Donald from, annihilating Russell Wilson throughout this game? If they can do that, the rest of it all kind of work itself out. And I feel very confident in their ability to not turn the ball over 4 times and still score 30 odd some points. And what I'm looking forward to the most is Jalen Ramsey versus DK and that attitude off. Like, those two guys are going to be going after each other. That's going to be, get your popcorn ready. That's must-see TV right there.
Yeah, because whereas Patrick Peterson against DK Metcalf, I don't think P2 has that attitude like Ramsey does. So this could be a lot more fun.
It's going to be a hell of a time. But I can't wait for it. It's what I'm looking forward to the most in this game.
But so doesn't this feel like a big Tyler Lockett game then? Just a lot like we saw against Arizona, like put Tyler Lockett up against whoever else is not Jalen Ramsey on the field and have a big Tyler day?
Yeah, I mean, Hill's a decent corner. It's not like he's trash. So, I mean, he can help with Lockett. But again, this comes down to very much what their defensive coordinator decides to try to take away. Because you can only really focus on one. And, all right, fine. Focus on DK. Great. He'll eat your lunch. Focus on Tyler Lockett. Great. He's going to go for, 200 yards and 12 catches. One way or the other, either Tyler's going to kill you or DK's going to kill you.
And I don't know if we're going to get any running backs back this week.
It sounded iffy. And hey, DJ Dallas, boy, I'll never get his name right. Dallas, he did his part this game. I couldn't be more happy with a 4th string running back than I am with Dallas at this point. He's getting us through this, and I appreciate his effort.
I think I would have liked to see him even just a little bit more in that. And maybe they would have used him a little bit more had they just not fallen behind so quickly in this game, because you did see them have some ability to run against this Buffalo defense early on in the game before they just completely abandoned it.
Whether or not that's the way they want to go with the Rams, who do have a fairly highly ranked defense. We'll see. But I do think that it doesn't much matter what defense you're playing. I mean, this version of this offense with Russell Wilson, they're going to get their points. They're going to get theirs. There's no keeping it down. It's just a matter of, can you do that without making the one or two big mistakes? Because that's the one thing about this style of play, this pass-heavy, offense-centric type of team, is people are like, well, Russ is having both the best and worst year of his career simultaneously. And it's like, well, not necessarily. If you're going to increase the amount of attempts that this guy has,
he's going to throw more picks.
He's going to throw more picks. He's going to get sacked more. He's going to make more mistakes because he has more opportunities to. And especially when your defense is this piss poor and you feel like you have to put on the cape and save the whole team, that's how it's going to be.
So is this going to be a lot like that 2018 Rams-Chiefs game where both teams put up 50 points?
I want to say no. I want to say that the Seahawks defense could hold them to 28.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, if they can hold them under 30, that's a win.
That's what I'm saying. Really, I mean, if this defense could go from what it's giving up now to just giving up 25 points a game, that puts you dead nuts average in the league.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not asking them to like reinvent the wheel here.
No. And then when you have Russell Wilson and the offense that he's putting up when he's not turning the ball over, like he has been up until, this last week where he turned the ball over 4 times. But, leading up to that, they had the number 1 offense in the NFL. They still might. I haven't looked.
Yeah, I found it hilarious. I saw some article with the headline, something about Kyler Murray realizes he's leading the league's number 1 offense. Somebody brought it up. Maybe it must have been yards. I don't know.
Maybe in yards.
I don't know. But I was like, oh, well, clearly whoever wrote this doesn't know football. So.
Yeah, if you look at Football Outsiders and offensive DVOA, Seattle's number 4 now, so they have dropped. They were up at number 1. Arizona's at number 9, so yeah, they're in the top 10, so congratulations to them. But right now it's KC, Green Bay, Tennessee in the top 3.
Well, this is going to be interesting, man. This is a huge game. I mean, you beat the Niners, and that helped to make it so you don't go 0 for the division, right? Because that would be a disaster. But really, with the Niners dropping off with all the injuries, with the Cardinals seemingly figured out by the league, I mean, really, your next biggest opponent here is the Rams, and they need this. I want this badly. I want to beat them so badly. And the thing is that when you go back and you look at the Rams schedule, who they've beaten that's any good? Because the answer is no.
Yeah, well, I think we looked at this not too long ago. They did beat the Bears. That was the one and they beat them 24-10.
I doubled down on no one.
I'd say that's the one that you actually can give them credit for.
Okay.
out of 8 games.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're coming out of their bye week, which I'm really curious to see how the Rams come out of it, because historically, if you look at Sean McVay, I mean, the biggest 2-week period of his career that I think about is going into that Super Bowl season in 2018, where he has 2 weeks to prepare for the New England Patriots and then scores 3 points. And then last season in 2019, they're 5-3 going into the bye week. They come out, take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think by that time, Ben Roethlisberger was lost in what week 3 last year?
Yeah, I think that was Quack Hodges as the quarterback at that point, maybe.
And the Rams scored 12 points coming out of the bye week.
Yeah. That's actually surprising. I would think that somebody like McVay would have some wrinkles, trickeration that people haven't seen before coming out of bye week. Or maybe he just spends all his time on his hair during the bye week. I don't know.
Maybe he overthinks it, because that's what it felt like going into the Super Bowl against the Patriots. And like he just got in his own head. And I wonder if he will do the same going into this game against the Seahawks. If he looks at what the Bills did against Seattle and says, oh, well, I'll just drop Jared Goff back to pass 61 times like I did against the Miami Dolphins, but this time it's going to work out better for us.
Yeah. So as far as the Super Bowl, him getting in his own head, it was actually the fact that Bill Belichick started getting in his head at the beginning of the year, sending him texts.
That's right.
Doing all that stuff. Yeah, he got Belichick. Like that's what happened there. But as far as this week goes, if you're Sean McVay, yeah, of course you look at the Seahawks pass defense and say, hey, we should make hay here, right? Robert Woods and Kupp and all those guys. We should Higbee and we should definitely be able to score a bunch of points here. And they are going to rack up a lot of yards, and they are going to move the ball, and they're probably going to score 20 plus. But if they can generate the kind of pressure the Seahawks, the way they have the last 2 weeks, and even though it's totally manufactured and kind of BS, it will be enough for Goff to make those 2 mistakes. It has to be.
I was counting on Josh Allen mistakes. Now I have to count on mistakes by Jared Goff.
Well, here's the thing. Out of Jared Goff and Josh Allen over the course of this season, does one seem on the ascension and does one seem on the, I'll be kind, plateau?
Yeah, I think we know what kind of quarterback Jared Goff is going to be the rest of his career, right?
Yeah. One with a crappy motion and, is basically this generation's Sam Bradford. If everything goes perfect, if he's kept clean, like he'll throw a nice ball.
Yeah.
You screw it up just a little. And that's another reason why the Seahawks are definitely going to have to come out and play some press man and really get after these receivers. It's not like Robert Woods is a huge guy. It's not like Cooper Kupp is a huge guy. Like, go out there, jam them, get them off their spots, disrupt the timing, let the pass rush get there. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I do want to see that. And I don't know if we're going to see Shaquille Griffin. The good news for Shaq Griffin is that it is just his hamstring issue that's causing him problems. He had been listed on the injury report with a concussion these last couple of weeks. And so now it's just recovery from the hamstring. So, hopefully with some practice time on the field this week, maybe we'll see him.
Maybe we will. It'll be what it'll be. The Seahawks are going to have to make do with the guys that they have and ready to go.
It could be DJ Reed and Trey Flowers as your outside corners this game.
Yeah, that's for sure. What's going on with Ugo? Is he ever coming back?
He's got a hamstring too.
Well, I'd hope he has 2 hamstrings, but he has a pulled hamstring.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a hamstring injury, so whether it's pulled or whether it's I don't know what else what can you do with your hamstring?
You can tear it.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's not that.
No, that would be bad.
Mm-hmm.
It just says hamstring in the injury report.
This pass defense over the next couple of weeks, until these guys get healthy, are going to continue to be hamstrung on the back end of the defense.
Ba-dum-tsh.
Yeah, bad dad joke to end the first half of the show.
Well, since Adam's crushing it with the jokes going into the break, we come out of the break and we bring on a guy who actually tells jokes for a living, and that's Sam Marcoux of the Perfectville podcast. He's a Dolphins fan. He has a Dolphins podcast, but it was the Dolphins that did something extraordinary, Adam, here so far this first half of the season. They hat-tricked the NFC West rivals of the Seahawks.
You say it's a hat trick. I call it the perfect record against the NFC West this year here. It's definitely a perfect record. 3-1.
And from a Seahawks fan perspective, 3-1 for the Dolphins in the NFC West is the perfect record. And here, joining us to talk about it, so we can, I don't know, pat him on the back or do whatever things that we need to do to congratulate and thank Sam Marcoux. Sam, thanks for coming back on.
Well, thanks for having me. And your team has been bad for a very long time when you're taking a victory lap after 5 wins so far this season. But 3 of those wins, as you guys so eloquently pointed out, against your rivals. So the Los Angeles Rams, the Arizona Cardinals, and the San Francisco 49ers of Santa Clara have all fell victim to the mighty Dolphin of Miami. And I just want to say to all the Seahawkers out there and all of Seahawk Nation, you're welcome.
It burns to say this, Sam. It burns on the inside. But thank you so much, Miami Dolphins. I'm really a fan of your guys' work this year.
Yeah, it's all worth it. We could go 0 for 8 to finish the season and finish with 5 wins for the season again. But I am going to save this episode of your podcast hard copy onto my phone and replay what you just said, Adam. Hearing you thank us, the Miami Dolphins faithful, as you are a secret Buffalo Bills fan, but thanking us is music to my ears, my friend.
Here's what I think we need to do. You know how each team hangs up a banner? I think there needs to be an NFC West champion runner-up, and it should go to the Miami Dolphins.
Well, I think we're doing better in your division than the Niners are for sure. So I think we're rude guests. We came in, we didn't even knock. We just kind of kicked down the door and said, "Hey, feed us. We're hungry." But I agree. I mean, it might be the only banner that we hang for a while because speaking of those Bills, they look pretty good. If you could do us the same favor, that would have been nice. But
Sam, we brought you on to talk about your team beating the NFC West rivals. I did not bring you on to talk about to pile on the fact that we lost to the Bills this last week. That was not part of this deal.
Well, I thought it was part of the deal because we were the late game, and you guys were the early game, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a fun day. And then it turned out it was fun for half the day, and then I had to take a nap because I looked at the score and went, well, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, I think you guys beat the Buffalo Bills, but apparently this was the 10th time. And you know what? You're right. We don't need to dwell on it. Let's dwell on the Cardinals falling victim to us, a team that you guys played heartily and all the way to the end, and even a little bit overtime. We took care of it in the fourth quarter for you. We showed you guys, because you guys playing again later this year. We showed you how to do it, and that is make Kyler Murray fumble and scoop and score. I guess that's how you do it.
Oh, so that's how you do it.
Yeah. See, last time we messed up by beating ourselves and, letting the Cardinals hang around and make stupid mistakes. Brian Flores, I will give him a lot of credit. Good coach. Kept you guys from beating yourselves, because that's the only way the Cardinals come away with a victory in really any game.
Well, I will say this, just for the NFC West, all kidding aside, I mean, looking at the schedule at the beginning of the year and knowing what we're up against with regards to a rebuild, we looked at the NFC West collectively, not everyone, but collectively as a fan base, and went, well, that's 4 losses. Where do we get? It's kind of like electoral votes. Like, okay, where can we go get this? Because we're not getting this state. The Dolphins are a little bit ahead of schedule, and here we are looking at this going, wow, we beat 3 really good teams and lost to a really good team, but 3-1 in the NFC West. I'll take that just about every single year.
And you still have teams like the Jets that you get to play again, and the Patriots who don't look all that great. Are you starting to look at the schedule and starting to wonder just, can the Dolphins squeeze in that number 6-7 seed at this point?
Well, when I look at our schedule, we have 3 losses. One was to you guys, the Seattle Seahawks. We lost to the Buffalo Bills, as you guys know, a tough out. And now, in years past, you would lose to the New England Patriots and go, okay, that's respectable. I'm now so mad at the Miami Dolphins for losing to the New England Patriots, knowing what we know now about them. Obviously, that was a trap game for us, week 1.
The week 1 trap game. You always hate to see it.
We were looking ahead to the Buffalo Bills. Looking at this, looking at the Dolphins schedule the next 4 weeks, and it's not necessarily in this order, but we have Los Angeles Chargers, we have the New York Jets, we have the Denver Broncos, and we have the Cincinnati Bengals. 4 very winnable games. And I'm no rocket surgeon, but you add those 4 games, which should be victories, to an already, healthy victory total of 5. And you're looking at 9 wins. And then you look at your December schedule. You've got the Raiders, you've got the Chiefs, both very good teams. You've got the Bills, who we played hard week 2. And then you've got those darn Patriots again, which now look like it should be a victory in South Florida. And the math tells me that's 10 wins. And with 7 playoff spots, possibly 8, that should be more than enough to at least get in. Now, having said that, we'll probably see the headline in a couple of weeks when the Jets get their first victory against the Miami Dolphins, because I just spoke this into existence. But yeah, I think at this point, you got to start looking at the playoff board if you're the Miami Dolphins.
So, Sam, not only did your Dolphins beat the Arizona Cardinals last week, but you were the last team to play the LA Rams, because they've been on their bye week this last week. And they did it with 145 yards of total offense. So I'm just hoping that whatever you did to solve and break the Rams in week 8, that just continues now with the Seahawks playing the Rams here in week 10.
Well, the one thing that I noticed in that game with the Dolphins was, the defense was out of their gourd. I mean, we only won this game because the Dolphins defense scored and almost scored again. But the Miami Dolphins defense, they do a really good job of getting their hands up, and they knocked a lot of Jared Goff balls down. Jared Goff is not a mobile quarterback. Last time I was on your guys' show earlier this season, I talked about how we struggle against mobile quarterbacks. Kyler Murray ate us up as well. We just happened to out attrition them. And then, by the way, their kicker, that's why we won. Their kicker came up about 5 yards short on a 49-yard field goal, and then turned to the camera and went, I don't know what happened, if you read his lips. But, that Rams offense was off. really, really off. And I think the key there is make sure Jared Goff is throwing the ball, because they have some talented running backs. And if he's throwing the ball, get your hands up, because good things happen when that happens.
I don't know if you've watched any Seahawks games, but generally making quarterbacks throw the ball against the Seahawks defense hasn't worked out so far this season.
I know. I'm actually starting Jared Goff in every single one of my fantasy leagues this week, just because I'm like, oh, it's up against Seattle. I have watched at least one game this season. And I understand that. I do that.
How dare you, Sam? That's a stab right in the back. I take it personally. But hey, I don't know exactly how the fantasy points work, but we're going to get 3 picks in this game. So if that hurts your fantasy team this upcoming week, so be it. So tough break on that in advance.
No, it's fine. I have Seattle's defense and Jared Goff as quarterback. So either way, I think I'm covered, as long as he doesn't turn around and give it to Darrell Henderson 38 times. There's
no possible way he does that, because the Seahawks are actually good against the run. That's the one thing we can do on defense.
Well, Sam, really wanted to thank you for coming on, and just to thank you personally. And if you can pass along a message to the Dolphins, if maybe get an address to where we send a thank you card to the team. I don't know if we address it to Tua specifically, if we address it to Coach Brian Flores, if there's, I don't know who exactly we need to owe, but I do know that we owe somebody in the organization big time.
Well, I was voted by the Miami Dolphins to handle any gifts, both outgoing and incoming. So I'll give you my address, and feel free to send me any sort of money, or, it's getting cold at dip below 70 here in Northern California the other day. So sweatshirts, even ugly holiday sweatshirts, anything you want to send to the Miami Dolphins. I can curate all of that and then take it out there in late December when I go watch them beat the New England Patriots live and in person.
I'll start organizing a group so we can start pooling everything, and we'll make sure we get something in the mail for you, Sam.
All right. Well, just so everyone knows, I am rooting for the Seahawks against the Rams this weekend. So you've got a friend in me. I could be
you just said that you were starting Jared Goff, and yet you're rooting for it. It doesn't work that way, Sam.
Okay,
bench your quarterback. If you want to prove to me that you're rooting for the Seahawks, bench your quarterback.
All right, I'll tell you what. I will bench him, and I will screenshot it, and I will send it to you guys on Twitter so that everyone can see it. All the Seahawkers out there can see it. And then I will let you know. I also had Kyler Murray as my quarterback last week. So that was tearing at my heartstrings, because I wanted to beat my friend in fantasy, and I needed Kyler to do what he did, but I also needed them to lose the game. And wouldn't you know it, if Kyler Murray wasn't a team player.
He's Sam Marcoux of Welcome to Perfectville. Sam, do you got any comedy shows coming up?
I actually have a show tomorrow. It's funny, Brandon, the last time I was on here, because I can't get enough of me, I re-listened to the podcast, and I told everybody that my next show was in April, and it was actually like October. So if anybody was looking for tickets to come see me April of next year, that's not happening. It already happened back in October. I don't even know where I got 6 months into the future there. I actually have a show. Let's just go from a week from when this was recorded. Let's go November 19th. Tommy T's in Pleasanton, California. I will be there along with a couple of others. I actually have a show tomorrow, but I don't know if anybody's going to make it to see myself and Comedy Central's Manny Maldonado between now and then. So let's just go with November 19th.
Great. Yeah, we got some people in Northern California. Definitely check out Sam Marcoux at his shows. I went back when he came up to Seattle. So good show. Worth checking out. Sam, thanks again for coming on.
Adam, Brandon, always a pleasure. You guys enjoy this weekend, and I will. I got to go change Jared Goff to put him on IR here.
Well, I appreciate Sam coming on, but I do take some umbrage, Brandon, with the fact that he accused me of being a closet Bills fan. Okay, number
You're very
one,
out and open about this.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't like some secret that they're like my distant second favorite team in my AFC team. But after that game, one of the last vestiges of my Bills fandom might have died right there. Like I kind of want to disown them, except for the fact that they're going to take on the Cardinals next week. So
they're taking on the Cardinals next week. The Dolphins coming off the win against the Cardinals. Yeah, we need Buffalo to actually win in that game. And, just looking at the NFC West over the next couple weeks, things could work out pretty well for the Seahawks if all the dominoes fall in the right way. The Seahawks, they need to get the win against the Rams, and they need a win against Arizona on Thursday night. But with Arizona playing against Buffalo and then playing Seattle, that could be a two, they could go 0-2 right there. And then with LA playing the Seahawks, and then they play the Tampa Bay Bucks. This could be a critical time for them of the season, get back-to-back wins, and have the other teams in the division that are competing with you go 0-2 these next couple weeks, they're in the driver's seat, and they could maybe even have this division wrapped up in early December.
So I think you really hit it on the head, and it actually matters less what the other teams do in their upcoming games. But really, if the Seahawks can take care of business in these next two divisional games, boy, it is really difficult to see a way that they don't come away with the division title at that point.
Yeah, and when you look at the rest of their schedule too, the way they are playing defense, let's say they continue to all out blitz quarterbacks of the QBs on their schedule. You're looking at Jared Goff. He has an 83 quarterback rating, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, an average yards per attempt of 6.4. And that's he's kind of middle of the pack. That's what kind of an average of what you're looking at with the quarterbacks up on the schedule, because it's just Kyler Murray who actually, handles the blitz well. But Carson Wentz on there, Daniel Jones, who is one of the worst, and Darnold. The funny thing about Darnold is that he's so bad when he's not under pressure that he's actually better when he's blitzed. And so I think maybe you don't have to worry as much about that.
Setting the bar low, I guess, huh?
He is. He's almost, I think, what was in 2013, weren't we using Mark Sanchez as like of what the Legion of Boom made all quarterbacks out to be?
Right.
And now it's Sam Darnold, who is also a Jets quarterback and playing at about that level as his top level, apparently.
Yeah, well, apparently we make all the quarterbacks in the NFL this year look like Joe Montana and John Elway somehow had an unholy baby and it came back to play quarterback for an entire season for every other team.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't like that.
No.
That's the difference between the Legion of Boom and the Legion of what we have now.
That's the difference. Okay. It's good to know.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, how about our quarterback, Russell Wilson? I don't know how I missed this after our game last week, but Russell Wilson playing against the 49ers, he actually passed Steve Young in career rushing yards.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to need a little bit more of that this year. I have a feeling that maybe by the end of, I'm going to go with next year. Maybe he'll have doubled Steve Young at that point. Like he's just going to, take the record to even further heights. I don't know. It's hard to say, but no, it's an impressive thing.
Yeah. Well, we need Chris Carson to come back. How about that?
That would be helpful.
Well, who knows how much more running we'll see out of Russell Wilson. It could be, they may need him. It sounds like Chris Carson is ahead of Carlos Hyde coming back. And there's a possibility of him playing for the Rams, but no certainty on that yet.
Well, you also have to imagine that even if one or both of them come back, that they're not going to get a heavy workload.
No, probably not. Well, people making sure that we keep up our workload are our members of the flock. And we got a couple people coming in this week, starting with Leon Rafleur, who came in at, if you go to SeahawkersPodcast.com/support, you can click on the PayPal button. And Leon sent $15 this week, says, guys, I need your upcoming episode to get over our pathetic defense. Hell, I still feel personally insulted by that performance. Anyway, go Hawks. By the way, not signing Clowney seems to be an in by now. Didn't want to leave that uncommented. From Leon.
Go Hawks, Leon. Hey, not wrong. And I don't blame him for taking it as a personal affront, that performance that we saw on Sunday. That definitely got a hat throw or two from me. There's no doubt about it.
There were some hat throw worthy situations in that, but I do think that in bringing up Clowney here, it reminds me of the play by Carlos Dunlap, and that we probably saw more from him in this one game against the Bills than the Titans have seen from Jadeveon Clowney through the first half of the season.
Oh, sure. I don't think that there's much of a comparison there, really, which is interesting. I mean, you just didn't hear Dunlap talked about the way that Clowney was talked about, over the last couple of years. And so to see him come in and be as impactful as he was, I can only guess that would be something that increases over time as he becomes more comfortable in the defense.
Jeremy's the one who's been sending us trivia, and he's back in the flock as well. He says, I paused my patronage for a year, but I'm joining back. You don't need to send me a sticker. I put the first one you sent me on the back of my teacher clipboard, and it's still there. Says, thank you for allowing me to do the trivia thing. As a teacher, one of the least desirable parts of my job is responding to parent emails. It makes me laugh to imagine Adam, Mr. Emmert, teaching something like middle school science and being forced to interact with parents who complained to him because their child failed a test in his class. Anyway, one day I was procrastinating responding to a bunch of parent emails, so I decided to look through the Seahawks schedule each year since Russ was drafted. I was curious about Russ's record against each team in the league, so I compiled the information on a scrap sheet of paper. Wanting to procrastinate more, I decided to slice the aggregate data into home and road splits and playoff versus regular season splits, and before you know it, I had a whole spreadsheet of data. An hour later, I realized that I need to get back to real work, but I didn't want my efforts to go to waste. Thank you for letting me do this trivia segment for these past couple of weeks. Now I feel like procrastination was actually meaningful. I hope my fellow flockers feel fulfilled from familiarity with these fun facts. I've got a few more questions that I think are interesting, but please cut me off when my trivia becomes too trivial. I guess I'll do some more data hunting and maybe get into individual statistics when these Russ-era win-loss questions stop being interesting. Go Hawks from Jeremy.
Hey, go Hawks, Jeremy. So does that mean we're off the hook this week for a trivia question?
No, he sent in trivia again this week too.
Oh, well, great. I can't wait to do terrible on this one as well. Yeah.
We will get to it in a moment, but Jeremy also had a PS. He says it's kind of random, but I'm curious, what is your favorite non-Seahawks uniform in the NFL? And for me, this is an easy answer. And it's the Chargers. Okay. It's the Chargers uniforms, like they're the powder blue.
Powder blue. Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, if I really have to think about it. If I had to choose one, I think it would be the Packers unis, the home with the green. I just think it's an interesting color combination you don't see very often. It's classic. It's great. Yeah, I'm a fan.
And if I had to be super specific with the Chargers, it would be the blue tops with the white bottoms.
Yeah, I figured we all knew that. I mean,
it
has to be the way that goes.
Not the yellow ones, obviously.
No, those are. Yeah, no, not into it.
Okay, I wanted to be specific, so nobody came back and said, "Oh, well, those bottoms are ugly, though."
I don't mean to take shots at Sam since he's not on the show anymore. Since we just interviewed him or anything, but easily the worst uniform of football is the dirty Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm not a big Dolphins uniform fan either. And even sometimes their alternate ones look even more ugly.
Their alternate ones are terrible. And 1993 freaking cold, and they want their colors back. Okay?
If they play in all white, that's an acceptable look, at least.
It's something.
Well, thanks to Jeremy, thanks to Leon, and thanks to our executive producers, Dustin Mock and Brian Shaw.
Hey, coming through again, even after a tough loss, man. See, that's how you know those two fellas, Dustin and Brian, are in it for the long haul, man. Like, it doesn't matter, win or lose, they got our back. And yeah, we appreciate that.
We appreciate it. And we appreciate those of you who held off on the fact that I did not have a winner for you last week for our tiny piece of Seahawks stuff. Sven Pers from Berlin, Deutschland, picked up the win, and he's going to be getting the Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin card. Congratulations to Sven.
Oh, absolutely, man. The only thing is that it may be a minute before you see it, Sven. So hold on. Yeah.
Could take a little while. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see how Sven's doing in the pick'em. Maybe I'll need to hold it and just send all those pick'em prizes his way.
Okay.
But we do have another tiny piece of Seahawks stuff, so you can go to tinypiecesofseahawksstuff.com, comment "Go Hawks" in the comment section, and you will. It's a Russell Wilson. It's play action. Oh, and I picked this one. It's a white jersey in it, but I like the description on the back.
Okay.
It says, "Few quarterbacks thrive on play action calls like Wilson. After faking the handoff and getting outside the pocket, the signal caller is capable of throwing across his body or to a target deep down the field without losing any accuracy. Seattle's offense is impossible to contain when the run is working."
Yeah, it's an interesting quote. I take some offense to it because it does totally pigeonhole Russell in a way, right? Well, he can't really throw it without the run. It's not really clicking then. And he can't really throw it from the pocket. He has to get outside. Actually, screw that card. If you win that card, you should probably burn it.
You know what's funny is you are not this person, Adam. You are acting like the person who reads into praise so much. You're like, oh, so he's only good when he gets out of the pocket? Oh, so he's not a good quarterback? So I only look nice when I wear this red dress? I don't look nice whenever I wear anything else? Is that what you're saying here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. It was a compliment that actually turned out to be an insult. Like, it just is.
That's the way you took it.
Yeah.
That's a you problem.
No, it's a me problem. It feels like a writer's problem. Whoever wrote that little ditty.
Well, I still think it's worthy of giving away as our tiny pieces of Seahawks stuff this month.
If you're into backhanded compliments, that's going to be your prize right there.
You Potty Mouth is going to be getting a prize this week as our biggest winner from the Pick'em League with 13 picks correct in week 9.
Usually I'm mad when somebody beats me in the Pick'em, well, which is like every week. But with the name like You Potty Mouth, like just, slow clap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
That may be one of the better names that we've at least heard as a winner.
Mm-hmm.
How did you do last week?
I didn't pick the Thursday game again, just for the catfish and giggles.
Hey, it's Wednesday. Here's your reminder. Go ahead and pick it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be sure to get right on that and not forget for sure. We all have strengths and weaknesses in life, and I've just come to accept that, like, remembering Thursday night football games is it's just a major flaw in my character. I don't have it.
Tell me who you would pick for the Thursday night game, and now you have it down as a record. So see, you don't even pay enough attention to care, is what it sounds like to me. That is a you problem.
Yeah, Thursday isn't a football day. I don't know what the NFL is doing. It's screwing up my deal.
I hope that you can remember that the Seahawks are playing the following Thursday.
Well, sure, but who's still playing this week?
It's Colts Titans.
Oh, that's the Titans. Oh man, that'll bring me to my do better. That's good stuff.
Okay. So Adam is picking the Titans. Well, there you go. Well, Congratulations to You Potty Mouth, and congratulations to Tugahawk, who's crushing it. He's 3 points ahead of the second place team in the Pick'em League right now.
Wow, that's
ahead
impressive.
Of Monday Morning Quarterback and Unlimited Hawkra.
I have a feeling all three of those folks actually pick all the games on time.
It helps when you're getting double-digit wins almost every single week.
That also
to not
helps
start
quite a
out
bit.
in the hole, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it must be nice being clairvoyant. It's a nice gift for them.
Yeah, or maybe he got a sports almanac from himself, who came from the future.
Yeah. It feels about right, doesn't it?
It would explain things.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I do know is all three of those individuals have a DeLorean. There's no doubt about it.
They just they share it.
No, they each have a separate one.
Oh,
yeah, they're customized.
I want one.
Well, you don't get one, and you don't get a hoverboard either.
Maybe if we could get more people in the flock at getintheflock.com, I could afford a hoverboard, and not like the Back to the Future one, but the rinky-dink ones that actually have wheels that they call hoverboards.
You mean a rollerboard?
Yeah, or whatever it is, a
motorized sideways skateboard. That's what those should have been called.
It doesn't have quite the ring to it, but
Where's Ralph Nader? Where's Ralph Nader with this deceptive advertising of a hoverboard? This is bullshit. Catfish.
I know it. I don't even like bringing it up because I think it's a sticky topic for both of us.
Yeah.
On to do better and better at life.
All right. My do better this week is for a guy who must have found something sticky on the field, because he had the worst tackle attempt I've ever seen in the history of football. And that's for one Phillip Rivers. He threw a pick. And if you haven't seen the video, oh, please God, go and check it out, because you will have a nice little chuckle. He throws a pick, defender's running it back, and he's trying to, kind of run backwards, cut off the angle, and Turf Monster comes up and gets him. Falls down straight onto his back. Well, the play kind of makes it so that dude has to run directly at Phillip Rivers, who's lying on his back on the ground. Guy leaps over Phillip Rivers, and Phillip on his back, like, puts his arms up and like flails him in the air, a lot like in Super Tecmo Bowl when you throw an incomplete pass and they do the like quick little shot to the receiver and his hands like flail in the air, right? And then the guy like just jumps over him and runs it in for a touchdown. And then the next move out of Phillip after his hands go flailing in there is he just falls back on his back with his arms out to his side like, oh my God, I'm the biggest tool to ever play football. And it's hilarious, but it was the worst tackle attempt I've ever seen in my life. Phillip Rivers, do better.
I hadn't seen it until you mentioned it just now. And yeah, it's pretty funny. It was a fumble recovery that that they knocked loose the ball on the run. And I think what happened is that he was running to his right, and all of a sudden the guy cut to Phillips' left and just totally got his legs tripped up underneath him. And yeah, throwing his hands up as he's going to the ground. Not the best look.
I think what happened there, I don't think that's what happened. I think what happened there is that in the middle of that play, Phillip Rivers realized he's a middle-aged white guy.
And he shouldn't be tackling anybody.
And acted accordingly. Tripped over his own feet, flailed his arms in the air, and then lied down like he was playing dead.
Well, he has, 42 kids to think about, so.
Yeah, he's got something to live for.
My do better this week is for Alexander Brown. And, it's one thing to want your defensive coordinator fired. It's another thing to go and set up a change.org petition to have your Seahawks defensive coordinator fired. To me, this is not a good look. Change.org, for one, the petitions on there, I've seen so many for so many different things. And sometimes you see important things, sometimes not so important. This falls into the not so important category. And to me, this is a look at me moment for the person who's signing the petition, because you can do lots of things that are maybe even more meaningful that you could do to have your voice heard. You could tweet directly at the Seahawks Twitter account or Pete Carroll directly on Twitter, and it probably would make more difference than a change.org petition. Shoot, Alexander, you could start up your own YouTube channel, the Fire Ken Norton YouTube channel, and you could probably get some subscribers that way and actually break down why you think Ken Norton needs to be fired. Because to me, there's not even enough of an explanation here that I would feel would be enough to get people on board with it. It says Ken Norton Jr. is so god-awful at being a defensive coordinator and is ruining a great Seahawks team. He needs to be fired ASAP. And he just left it at that. So he couldn't even be bothered to write more than 2 sentences about how he feels with Ken Norton Jr.'s coaching so far this season. So for Alexander Brown, making the rest of us Seahawks look bad and putting up your stupid petition on change.org, do better.
Maybe he felt like it's so obvious why Ken Norton's a bad D coordinator that he didn't need to fill in the blanks. He figured everybody else could, do that themselves. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. But he's got 2,200 signatures. So congratulations.
Wow. Look, changing the world one firing at a time. Just really solid work there. But you're right. I do like the way you actually explained or characterized that. It is a look at me moment. And not that we don't do a look at me moment like every single week with the show.
Weekly,
yeah. I mean, we're above that clearly, but that's what's going on there. No doubt.
Maybe I'm taking this the wrong way. Maybe I should have Alexander throw our logo up on this page and maybe we get a few more subscribers that way.
Right. Yeah.
Why
that's why
we
you're
starting petitions to get people to look at us?
Yeah, that's why you're mad. This is an opportunity to bring in more little flockers, which means more money, which means you're missing out on revenue. I see what this is now.
See, you've completely turned this around on me, and now it's my problem. I should do better.
Well, how about a mutual do better? Because he didn't reach out to you either.
That's true.
Because it was all about him. Remember, that's how this started.
For all the time that he spent putting together the @Fire Ken Norton on Instagram, he could have been reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, could I put your logo up on this page?"
Right. And at this point, he should know, too, that we're the ones who enact real change with the Seahawks with our voice.
Happens every time.
Happens every time for life. Yeah. Don't look it up.
Yeah. We constantly cheerleaded their way to a Super Bowl in our first season of doing this podcast. I feel like we have some room to say that we have a say in it somewhat.
Hey, we should get, just like Pete Carroll, since we, helped the Seahawks win 1 Super Bowl, we should get a 5-year extension. For millions of dollars. I think that should happen.
Yeah, for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I would settle for 10% of that.
I'd settle for thousands. I mean, I'm magnanimous that way. That's how I've always been.
Enough of this doing this week to week stuff or month to month. We need to be locked in for 5 full years.
Exactly. You could have me and you in your life every single day if somebody would just give us, $1 million each. For the next 5 years.
Yeah.
We don't even need $1 million every year. Just $1 million for the next 5, I think would do.
Yeah, that's $200,000 a year. If I'm doing the math correctly.
I think I could budget my way into making that work. Just enough.
So if anybody has $1 million lying around, come put a ring on the show for 5 years.
Yeah. Make it happen.
On to Better at Life. You know what? We'd even give a person an honorary Better at Life if they did that.
Maybe we would rename the Better at Life segment, for that benefactor.
Ooh, I like that. Naming rights to the Better at Life segment.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you're onto something. And because what? How much did CenturyLink pay to get CenturyLink on the Seahawks stadium? Probably more than $1 million.
Yeah, I'm sure they pay more for the naming rights to the stadium than they do in the actual infrastructure for their internet, because it's not like it's blazing. Let's put it that way.
But if they did come in and sponsor this, we would talk every week about how blazing fast that internet is.
Well, and how you really can't beat it with any other service provider on the planet. I mean, they're just amazing.
Well, don't get carried away yet. I mean, they got to cut the check first.
I'm just giving them a taste.
Aren't you glad that we're a listener-supported show?
Right. Yeah. The ads, even when we've tried the ads, they've been spectacular. Would that be the way to put it?
That is a word.
Okay, it is a word. I don't know if it's the one that describes it, but yeah, it's a word.
On to Better at Life, brought to you by the Little Flockers.
There we go. See, that rolled off your tongue. My Better at Life than Skip Bayless this week is for a French bulldog named Wilbur. And he just happens to now be the newly elected mayor of Rabbit Hash, Kentucky. And I love this story. And on election week, where some people are up, some people are down, it's just been a roller coaster. We're all sick of, the whole process. I thought that these folks in Rabbit Hash, Kentucky, they've got this election figured out, because they have never once had a human as the mayor of Rabbit Hash. And so this year, the new mayor is a 6-month-old French bulldog and named Wilbur. And they do this every election cycle. To Rabbit Hash for coming up with this fantastic idea. Better at Life than Skip Bayless.
I'm hardcore anti-bulldog, though. Maybe if it were a poodle, I could get behind this.
I see. Now, serious question. He's replacing a pit bull named Bryn. Would you be more apt to vote for the pitty than you would the French bulldog?
Can I go third party?
Are you gonna go with some designer breed like the one you have, like a Labradoodle? Is that where we're going?
Maybe
here?
I don't know. I'm happy just going with the stray. If those are my two choices.
I see. Okay. Well, I just didn't look. I would hold out for a Newfoundland. Because we all know that they will champion universal health care for everyone. That's it. We know that for sure.
We do know, at least, that's, if there's one thing that they're well associated with, it's universal health care.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously. That's what Newfoundlands, that's what they promote.
Yeah. Because they're Canadian.
Right.
My Better at Life this week, since we're recording on Veterans Day, like I mentioned at the beginning, giving my Better at Life to all the military veterans out there. Yes, you'll be hearing this a day after, but I like the symmetry. I started the show by thanking you and wishing you a happy Veterans Day. I'm finishing it that way too. Happy Veterans Day to everybody, and go Hawks.
Hey, Brandon.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy Veterans Day.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost forgot. It was the
you
lady
just needed
friends.
2 reminders. You needed the reminder at the beginning and the end.
Yeah. So one thing that I'm taking away from this is you and the lady friend who are good friends as well. You know me well enough to know that I need constant reminders about such things, because it was her birthday yesterday, and she was kind enough over the last week or so to give me so I didn't screw it up.
Oh, good.
She helped me with that. So
I forgot to wish her a merry birthday yesterday. I got the Facebook notification, and I meant to send the text rather than just doing the wall post thing.
Yeah.
But then I forgot.
Hey, either way. Well, you were definitely doing a lesser job than our other 2 friends in that group. The 2 ladies, they gave her a call and sang her happy birthday, along with there was a dog accompanying it in the background. I think it was a French bulldog, actually.
Oh.
And and then a child mixed in there.
Was it like the mayor?
Nah, just one of us commons. One of us, common people, French bulldogs.
That's a shame. I would like a celebrity singing from a French bulldog and a future birthday.
Yes.
Or Veterans Day. That would be a nice Veterans Day gift too. I don't know what people do for gifts on Veterans Day. Usually it's free meals at restaurants, but a dog singing happy birthday seems like it would fit.
So what I take away at the end of the episode here is that all you want is to be serenaded by a canine, and all I want is our defense to surrender less than 35 a game.
And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.